End up on this. I'm about that life, I'm about that life. Plus, I'm about that life, I'm about that life. Plus, I'm about that life, I'm about that life. Plus, I'm about that life, I'm about that life. Plus, fire them cannons, them cannons, them cannon, cannons, them cannons. Fire them cannons, them cannons, them cannon, cannons, them cannons. Fire them cannons, them cannons, them cannon, cannons, them cannons.
What's up, everybody? It's Gene. Welcome to What You Heard. And I'm here with my guest, Princess Nikki. We've been missing you for a while. Glad you're back. And be talking a little bit of football here. Nikki, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
You can follow me on Twitter at Bucks_Princess. Thanks for having me back, Gene.
All right. You know you're the one and only co-host here, so.
Love it.
Yeah, you got a permanent spot. So how have things been going for you? I know you were in Tampa for the draft, and I'm curious to hear how everything went while you were there.
Oh, Tampa was awesome. I was fortunate enough to end up the day I got there on a live radio show. I went and hung out with Roy Cummings, and we were on a radio show with, I don't even remember who the radio guy was. I don't even remember now. Got to meet Danny Lansana and Akeem Spence, and I think Jaworski Lane was there, but I didn't talk to him. That was cool. I helped out with the What the Buck golf tournament, the charity golf tournament that benefited One Voice, so that was really cool. Hung out with like Steve White, and Akeem Spence was there again, and a lot of the other crazy Bucks fans that are all out there. I was glad that Derek let me help with that. And then the draft party was amazing. I mean, for me, it was just an experience. There was a lot of Bucks fans there, a lot of other team fans that I saw too, a couple, not like a lot. But then I also went to the draft party that the commish had at Buffalo Wild Wings and got to hang out with people from like the Bucks Brief and, Luke
Wow.
Easterling. And it was a blast. We had a great time. It was awesome.
That is awesome. So what was your favorite part about the whole experience? I missed it.
I think just being there for the pick and just being with other Bucks fans that feel the way I do, especially it was my first draft party, and to go the year that we had, the number 1 overall pick and possibly drafting the quarterback that we're hoping turns around our franchise was just a very special moment. So
Yeah, I kicking myself that I didn't get to make it there. Work related stuff I couldn't get off, so I was happy that somebody that I know made it. It was a good thing.
Yeah, it was a blast. I was looking forward to seeing you out there. That just didn't work out.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on trying to at least catch a couple of games this season. Trying to catch the Mike Allstott Ring of Honor or the Doug Williams Ring of Honor game, one of the two. So hopefully I'll catch that one, and possibly an away game, possibly New Orleans.
Are you looking at New Orleans too? Because I am as well.
Yeah.
I'm looking at New Orleans, Houston, and I already got tickets for the DC game.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
wow.
I already got those ones. Yeah, so.
Yeah, so the Ring of Honor, it means a lot to me because I grew up on Doug Williams, and I've met Mike Allstott on multiple occasions. As a matter of fact, I saw him at the airport when I went to pick my son up about 2 weeks ago.
I saw that. I'm jealous.
Yeah, I just happened to see him. I glanced over my shoulder, and there he was. And, the first thing I asked him, so what do you think of Jameis Winston? That was the first thing that I thought of, because this is the guy that's supposed to be leading our franchise. And he said he's one heck of a kid. He's got a great future, and I have nothing but positive things to say about him. So to me, that means a lot, coming from somebody who's going into the Ring of Honor and meant so much to Tampa, to give such a positive read. I know he hasn't played it down, but just the things that he's doing right now are very positive, and his team is embracing him as we speak.
Yeah, well, he's done a lot, from the day he arrived in Tampa. He's reached out to other players and, make sure that all the other players are kind of doing well, and just creating those kind of relationships with people. So I think that's a good step in the right direction for, and I actually heard Mike Evans today on the radio, on NFL radio, saying that, Jameis is just, you can't not like him. Like, he's just great to be around. So that's good, and developing those kind of like those bonds that go deeper than football, that builds the trust that's necessary to have a good team. So
Yeah. And the one thing that stood out to me throughout all of this is Jameis Winston's ability, just like you mentioned, to get along with people. You cannot not like this guy.
right.
And case in point is Big Dog. The Big Dog has been trashing this guy since last year, just everything. I wouldn't let my daughter be around him. He's a horrible person. And now Jameis Winston's been on his show and they've talked. And I mean, when you're around him, from everything I've heard, you just cannot help but like this guy. My nephew goes to Florida A&M, and he went to Plant High School in Tampa, so he's friends with some players on the Florida State team, and he actually got to meet him on multiple occasions, and he says the guy is so down to earth, and he's somebody you cannot not like. So to me, these are all good things. They're all pointers that he's really trying. I mean, for him to, when they have penalties, he was running laps or something like that with the offensive lineman, because he feels like he's part of the team. So
Right.
He's really fitting in, and I'm so excited about that. And it's something that we've needed for a while. And not to take anything away from the quarterbacks that we've had from Josh Freeman forward, but I think you can tell there's something different about this quarterback as opposed to the other ones.
Yeah, the amount of accomplishments that Jameis had just in college speaks for itself. Especially dealing with as much off-field stuff that he did, and he'd come in every Saturday and just no matter how far they how many points they were down by, he just put his mind in the game, and he came back and won, and that speaks a lot to what's important to him. And I think that we're going to need that, because Tampa over the last couple of years have had just so much off the field distractions that we need a quarterback that is conditioned to being able just to play the game, because that's important, right?
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
We'll see. I'm excited. And it seems like everybody's real pumped. I think the marketing for the team has gotten a lot better, getting on Snapchat and being a little bit more interactive on Twitter. It's just, I think it's good for the team.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that the team has a direction. It's the one thing, and I've said this since John Gruden and I can't think of the general manager. Who's the general manager?
Mark Dominic.
Not Mark, before Mark Dominic.
McKay?
No, after McKay.
Anyways,
you know what I'm talking about. The general manager. He was the general manager for the Redskins.
Right.
Well, the Buccaneers have not had a direction. And I don't care what anybody says. You look at what they've done with the draft. You look at the draft picks they've made since winning the Super Bowl. You look at the free agent moves that they've made since winning the Super Bowl. And the Buccaneers have not had any clear-cut direction. We want to get a franchise player. We want to build through the draft. We want to build up this team and keep it competitive. It's like it just slowly dwindled after winning the Super Bowl. And then when John Gruden was finally fired, along with the general manager, and they brought in Mark Dominic and Raheem Morris, it was more of the same. Yeah, they had a direction, but it was kind of misguided the way they were doing it. They wanted to build a team strictly from the draft, total youth movement, no veterans, no leadership. They just wanted to build this team.
I feel like they've done that a lot over the years, because Gruden was very veteran oriented, and then they just flip flop and go the complete opposite direction. Raheem, would you say Raheem was more offensive oriented than like defensive? Because I think he was a defensive coordinator, so he
was more defense. He was more defense.
So is Schiano. So they've been going, at least, coach wise, a lot more defensive. But I think that they've done that kind of stuff a lot, where they flip flop. They go one way extreme and then go the complete opposite way. Right. But it's different personnel, different team like representatives that are making those decisions. But it just seems like they flip flop.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting. I listen, I don't really care for Mark Dominic. I really never have. After Raheem Morris got fired, I thought that he should have gotten fired for the 2011 team that he put on the field. And
Hmm.
that's my personal opinion. I stand by that. But just listening to his interview, he passes the blame onto people in his ear. He said that there were people in his ear, and the last draft of the that he was a part of, he didn't listen to anybody, and that's where they got Levante David, Doug Martin. Yeah, allegedly, these are his words.
Right.
But I look at some of the moves that they've made, and I don't I don't know. I still don't believe a whole lot of that. I think he's trying to save face, but that's just my opinion. I wasn't there, so I don't really know. But getting back to what I was saying, the Buccaneers have not had a clear direction. They haven't had any balance. They've gone from this extreme to this extreme. Even with Greg Schiano, even with the defensive coordinator they had, where they had all these blitzes or they would rush three and all this crazy stuff that they've just been doing, and nothing's worked. They haven't had any balance until now. And what I've seen, even though we had a 2-win season last year, I'm seeing a lot more balance. I'm seeing Lovie Smith evaluating players and deciding, okay, he's going to work in this system. And they're not building the team from the front to the back. They're filling in for need. For instance, with the tight end, like we were talking about earlier, I think that we now have depth at the tight end position. I think that we have depth at the running back position with everybody healthy. I'm curious to see what Charles Sims does with a full season under his belt. So certain positions you can see where the Buccaneers, wide receiver, maybe, but you can kind of see where the Buccaneers are building depth in a lot of these positions that we've just been depleted in for years.
I agree with you. I think it's so early on to say these things, but you're right. I do see the depth, but I also thought we had the depth last year, bringing in the veterans that we did last year. But
Right.
so it's
And
hard to say, but I do think that um I see what you're saying. Like we have 4 tight ends on roster right now, and that's something we had struggles with that last year because all of
right.
them kept getting hurt. So I mean,
Right.
it's health is just going to be our biggest issue. I mean, I think maybe I don't know if I'm not going to say our team would have been fine last year if we could have stayed healthy. Because honestly, I think we were pretty healthy last year.
There were too many things that were out of whack for this
Yeah, so
team.
I don't think health was our issue though. But you're right. If all of our backs can stay healthy, and our tight ends can stay healthy, we do have depth. So that's good.
And another thing, and you think about the offensive coordinator. And I was listening to the interview that Lovie Smith had today, and he's pretty even keel, so you can't really tell if he's excited or he's mad or he's upset. But for him to say that he's pleased with the offensive coordinator, I don't know if that's a PR move or what, but I honestly believe that now that we have a legitimate offensive coordinator, and I look back throughout the years of the Buccaneers organization, I can't remember too many uh, quality offensive coordinators that we had. They've all come in with no experience, from Clyde Christensen to Shula to I'm trying to think,
Sullivan.
Sullivan. Yeah, just throughout the years, we just haven't had that quality offensive coordinator with the credentials that a Dirk Cotter comes in with. So that's something that people should be excited about if you're not, because we've pretty much shown what can happen if you don't have a offensive coordinator in place from the beginning of the season till whenever.
Right. I think Dirk Cutter was the biggest acquisition for us this year in terms of bringing in somebody with experience. So I'm saying like better in style, but obviously he's not playing on the field. But in terms of bringing somebody into the organization, I think he was the biggest acquisition we could have gotten.
Most definitely.
And I think that last year, I don't know, maybe it would have been different if Tedford had stayed healthy, because not having an offensive coordinator and throwing in a quarterback's coach to call plays and design the offense. I mean, granted, he worked a lot with Jeff Tedford, but the only person that can run Tedford's offense is Jeff Tedford,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I think that was our biggest loss last year. So having a coordinator this year is just going to improve us, I think, a lot.
and I don't mean to sound like a homer. I think I'm a homer personally because I'm always looking at the positive on anything. The fact that the Buccaneers were in 8 games, what was it, 8 games were decided by 8 points or less.
Yeah.
That tells me that we were in those games. We had opportunities to win those games. And I think that had things been differently, there's a possibility that any one of those games we could have won. It would have
Yeah.
changed the outlook for now. But what I'm saying is this team isn't as bad as what everybody thinks that we are.
And I agree with that. I think our overall situation of where our team is, like, I think there are teams that are worse off than us right now. I mean, look, I'm just taking, for example, maybe the 49ers might even be in a worse position than we are, or the Redskins are actually probably in a worse position than we are. We may be the worst team record-wise last year, but in terms of the overall situation and the bigger picture, we're just not. Like, we're actually in a pretty good spot.
Yeah. And for our show for the fall, and I know we've talked about this a little bit, I sometimes want to try to get a guest on who's uh, a blogger or a podcaster for another team just to kind of get their insight on what they think about the game. So I've been really watching a lot of different podcasts from a lot of different teams, and everybody that is going to face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers has said they're going to blow us out. Every single person I've listened to. And
Right.
I'm like, I understand we only won 2 games last year. And, I'm sure that's what they're basing everything on. And the fact that we had, a horrible offensive line and no offensive coordinator.
And I think it's easy to assume, we've just been a consistently bad team. I mean, even our 10-6 season was a little bit lucky,
Yeah.
like we've just been a consistently bad team. So it's easy to think, if you just look at your schedule at face value, picking off the games that are wins and losses. I mean, I don't blame other, fans or bloggers, podcasters for that. Like, I don't blame them. If I wasn't a fan of the Buccaneers, I could easily make that same kind of, statement.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
I look at maybe, the Raiders, like maybe it'll be a little bit competitive, but we'll probably beat them, but I don't know what's going on in Oakland. I don't know
Exactly.
the depths and the skeleton of that team the way I do the Bucks or the way we do.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I've got NFL Rewind. I like to go back and watch games. And I was watching the Tennessee Titans, and I would have to say I do not know how the Bucks have a worse record than the Tennessee Titans, to be honest. I looked at their play. They couldn't keep their quarterback upright, which is the same situation we had. Our defense is better than their defense, just watching them play. And I honestly believe that, once again, people are looking at the 2-win season, and that's what they're basing everything on, which, I think is kind of good for the Bucks, especially right now, because the expectations for the rest of the league is very low for the Buccaneers. They're thinking, maybe the Buccaneers may get to 500, but, based on our schedule, there's not any team that we couldn't compete with on a Sunday, to be honest. I mean, I know you may see some games like everybody talks about the Dallas Cowboys or possibly the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, we've been pretty competitive with the Philadelphia Eagles the last couple of times we played them. I'm thinking in 2012, and we played them again and we lost. But that was a pretty close game. That 2012 game, we lost on the last play in the fourth quarter, and it was a tight game. Nick Foles was the quarterback. They've gone through a lot of changes themselves, so we don't know what kind of Philadelphia Eagles team we're going to see on the field.
Well, and then they're also bringing in a whole other quarterback too, and the staple players on that team are also not there either. So that's just one of those teams that you don't know what we're going to get out of them. And I think that people assume they know what they're going to get out of the Buccaneers, but they might be surprised. I'm hoping they're surprised,
Yeah,
but
yeah, me too. More than anything, that's my concern. And another thing, and I wanted to ask you this. I know that the big sticking point all year has been the offensive line since the end of the season. Do you feel that with us having an offensive coordinator, he can work with our offensive line and get the best out of them?
I
And
think I think we discussed this on one of the last shows that we did. It was the one you and I did. I think right after they brought in Cutter. But I had looked back at some of his stuff, and I believe that Atlanta's like one of their best linemen went down last year. And they lost him for the season. But that offense, he was able to regroup the line and make them productive. So I'm thinking without your best player on the line, and you still have a decent offensive line because you were able to like work with them, that gives me hope to think that if we lose one of our, maybe like Dotson or I don't know, Mankins or something, that they're gonna do enough to be able to put somebody else in there, and we don't, in a sense, skip a beat. I'm just hopeful for it because he's done it before, so I
yeah,
think that'll be a good thing for our team.
yeah, and there again, I mean, we can't. I know we keep coming back to the offensive coordinator, but to me, I think that was the biggest part of last year, and you can't say enough about it by not having one. I mean, I think it's just that important.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. So yeah, I'm looking forward to what he can do. I'm just excited that we have a coordinator for sure.
Now, the next position I wanted to kind of ask you about and see what your thoughts are is the defensive end position. I think with Clint McDonald and Joe McCoy, we already know what they're capable of doing. We saw McDonald coming on towards the end of the season, playing like the player we expected him to be. I think since Lovie Smith has been here, Altron Werner, I was happy with Altron Werner learning a new system, and I was happy with McDonald towards the end of the season, and I expect big things out of them. But on the defensive end, I'm still unsure what we have and how productive will they be.
Okay, defensive ends. Who do we have right now? We have who do we even have?
I'm pulling up our.
Who do we even have right now? Our end.
I'm pulling up our roster right now. Because it's funny. I was thinking about this, and I was looking at every position. I've been checking the safeties. I've been looking at I've been looking at different positions, but I just I'm unsure what are we going to do in this position here. And the one other than the offensive line, the only thing that I kind of question about is the defensive end position
and safety.
and safety. Let's see, we've got Larry English and William Golston. And, I keep hearing about this breakout season. I still haven't seen it. I heard that he was going to have a breakout.
I'm kind of expecting a lot from Golston. If I don't get something more out of him this year, then I'm kind of over that project if he can't show up this year.
Yeah, I'm the same way because, after a couple of years if a player is going to go and improve. Jackie Smith.
Jackie Smith. I like him. The problem with Jackie Smith is, he has really good he has some good, moments when he was playing and he was coming on. I hope he can build off of that momentum. But, we have such a small sample size that it's hard to really feel confident. I want him to just gain off his momentum. But he had at the end of, because every game he played and he got better, I feel. But I think that it's hard to be confident in a guy that you just don't have like consistency from,
Right. So, there again, you don't know what you have yet. And I wasn't, once again, I wasn't really sure how I felt about the defensive end position. So it's one of those positions I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. George Johnson coming over from
Detroit
Lions is another player who played good when he was in Tampa to begin with, and I don't know why he was let go. Why they didn't try to keep him. Uh, he's a Rutgers
I mean,
guy.
you could say the same for freaking Michael Bennett, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's a sore subject with me. You already
Oh,
know that.
I already know. It's a sore subject with any Bucks fans that understand what happened there, because we didn't even pick up the phone on that one.
Yeah. And then I look at Wallace Gilberry playing in Cincinnati, and he was playing lights out last year. So it bugs me. All these players that we had, all these players that we could have kept in our rotation, and we chose not to do it. So it is what it is. That was a different regime, and we're
Nobody
here.
listens to us, okay? Nobody asks me for my opinion when they just make
Exactly.
these decisions.
They should have picked up the phone and gave you a call.
I know. We would have had Trey Mason and not Charles Sims, but whatever.
Exactly. So what do we do in that instance? Because the Tampa 2 is predicated on pressure on the quarterback. So we know what you have in the middle with McDonald
McDonald
and
and McCoy.
McCoy, but what do you have on the edges?
Well, that's where I'm saying if Jacquez Smith can build up over the top, is he on the? He's on the left, right?
Yeah, he's on the left.
Yeah, Jacquez Smith is on the left. So who would be our starter on the right? George Johnson, right?
George Johnson, yeah.
Johnson would be on the right. Smith, on the left is what I. Are you sure he's a left end?
Hold on, I'm checking here. I swear he was a left end.
I don't know. Anyways, I think if we can get the George Johnson and Jacquez Smith from those highlight reels, I think we have a good chance. But I think a second year in this defense too for like Jacquez Smith, I think our defense is going to be a lot better just coming into the second year. And then we upgraded at middle linebacker. So I mean, I was a Mason Foster guy, or I supported him, but he just didn't have the athleticism and the speed that we needed out of a middle linebacker in this defense, which I actually was wrong, because I thought that this would have been his breakout season. Not that he needed to break out, but I just thought he would have had like a really good season, and he was injury prone too. But
Yeah.
I just think that we had, with the upgrade that we made, who was it that we brought in there for the middle? Is it Melton?
Yep.
Yeah, Harry Melton.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be the one I was confused about was the Chris Conte signing. I don't know what to expect from him. I don't feel like he was even all that good in Chicago.
I think with his injuries, I think he's been injured a few times, and we haven't really. I don't know. Like I said, with the DJ Swearinger signing, I'm just wondering who that's going to affect. Will it affect Major Wright, or will it affect Conti as far as playing time? And that all remains to be seen in camp. I know we're away from camp. This is all conjecture right now, but
Right.
it's just something to think about, though. I mean, what's going to happen with him?
Yeah, it's definitely. But I think the core of our defense, and I actually think Werner's going to have a better season as well.
Absolutely.
He was second team All Pro when we brought him in here. Struggled a little bit last year, but I think that he can build on that. So
right, and there again, that kind of goes back to the pressure on the quarterback. When we were pressuring the quarterback against Washington, Werner and Banks looked awesome. When we were getting pressure where we needed to against the Saints, Werner and Banks, Werner looked awesome. And that's the whole thing. If you don't have to hold your receiver for very long, and you're making the quarterback get rid of the ball or whatever he needs to do, I mean, that makes all the difference in the world.
Right. I mean, you're right. The Tampa 2 is predicated on pressure. I just hope we have it this year, because we didn't have a whole lot of it last year.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that the team was just in the transition right there. I think having a season under their belt, the core players, I think is definitely going to help out. They're going to be a lot more comfortable with the system, and the people that they've brought in are familiar with a similar Tampa 2 type system that they've been in. So I think that even our safeties will be better than last year, where we will have people that can cover. Swearinger, I'm still not sold on. I'll have to wait and see. I'm like you. We'll have to kind of wait and see. And, as for the rest of the team, I think that at linebacker, we've made upgrades. I think we made upgrades for the most part in a lot of positions. It remains to be seen with quarterback, but I believe based on what we're seeing that could be a definite upgrade right there. And I expect the team to surprise a whole lot of our opponents that we'll face this year.
Yeah, it's just more worrying about the gelling of the offensive line, getting that, in place. I do like the draft picks of Donovan Smith and Ali Marpet. I know Ali's having, some learning curve, a bigger learning curve than most.
Oh yeah,
because he comes from Division 3. But I think I saw something from him the other day that's, he says he's been working a lot with Evan Smith and with Logan Mankins, and he's learning a lot. So that's good. Once Dotson gets back in there and minicamp, he should have been there today, actually.
Yeah, he was there.
He was there. I think Dotson just needs to clean up those penalties, man. He was like, I think top 5 in the league last year for most penalized player. And
I'm glad you brought that up because I've been kind of heated about this. I look at Dotson, and Dotson was on a 2-win team last year. Nobody should be asking for more money. Nobody. I don't care.
Especially not the most penalized player on our team.
And I believe when Dotson first came to Tampa, he was making $750,000. He went up to $2.4 million, and in 2013 he signed a contract for $4.2 million. So the Buccaneers have been, they've been rewarding him. I would think. I realize that football is a business, but if you've just signed a contract in 2013, I don't think that this now is the time to be coming back asking for money, especially, like you said, with the stats that he had last year and the fact that they only won 2 games and the whole offensive line as a whole looked horrible.
Right. I would say he was probably our best lineman last year. But you can't justify leading the NFL in penalties by yourself. Like you just I don't know.
Agree. It's just crazy.
We'll see,
but there again, I still have a lot of hope. I'm really excited. It doesn't matter what this team is looking like. Every year I get excited. I was excited when Greg Schiano was here. I just,
I drank that Kool-Aid the first year, though. I totally did. I am guilty of drinking that Kool-Aid.
Let me say this. I wasn't happy with Greg Schiano coming. I was kind of pissed at Chip Kelly for spurning the Bucs, number one, and then we ended up with this guy. I went to USA.
We also waited too long to hire a coach.
Yeah.
We waited 25 days or something.
Yeah.
Unlike this last year when we fired him, we had our coach by the next day or two.
I think there was something going on in the behind the scenes. So that's how I kind of look at it. But with Greg Schiano, I saw Greg Schiano at Rutgers, and that guy he was just a horrible play caller, and I do not understand what they saw in him to begin with. I really don't. He had a mediocre conference record, and he had a mediocre bowl.
One game over 500, huh?
Yeah.
No bowl games or anything, right?
Yeah, he was just a horrible coach, and I just to this day, and now I see him on TV.
Yeah, he's an NFL analyst, NFL expert, right? I know. Yeah. Let's get off of him because I can't even handle it.
All right. Yeah, but I'm glad to finally get you back on here. Something else I was gonna ask you about. I know we had talked the last time about a little bit about Mike Glennon and what if he had an offensive coordinator. What if the line was better? I've had this debate with a few people, and I guess for me, when I look at Mike Glennon, I still don't see a guy that's going to take a team and put him on his shoulders and get him to the Super Bowl.
No.
I don't see that in him. I know the end game for any NFL franchise is to get to the Super Bowl. I've had this argument with people about how consistent he is. He doesn't make mistakes, but I've seen a lot of plays where he holds the ball too long or he can't break down the defense that he's looking at. And if you audible on him and change your scheme, then he doesn't know what to do half the time. It's something that he just hasn't adjusted to. It was the same thing I saw with Josh Freeman.
I don't know. So what's your question though?
What do you think about his position right now? Do you think that
I'm glad we kept him. I figured he's a viable backup at the moment. I think he actually can compete pretty decently in camp with Winston. I think Winston will outperform him in the end, but I think he's not. I agree with you. He's not going to put the team on his back the way Winston will. Even in terms of motivation and being like more vocal and that kind of stuff. But I don't feel he's not going to lose us a game. I feel like if God forbid something happens to Jameis, we can throw Mike Glennon in there and be pretty confident that at least he's not going to be the reason we lose. So I'm confident with that. I'm glad we kept him. He's cheap. We don't have to pay him a whole lot of money, and that frees up the money we're going to need to pay Levante, and that's what I was trying to tell somebody else, that we don't need Mathis because he just wants too much money, and we don't need it. But granted, he's a Pro Bowler, but still, the cheaper options we can get. That's why building through the draft is really good for us. Mm-hmm. And then just bringing in maybe one or two of those veterans that'll just elevate our play. But I think I'm happy that they kept him. If we could have gotten a good trade out of him, I would have taken it. But then who's our backup? If we trade Mike Glennon, who would we have had as a backup?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And we could be like Philly and carry 4 or 5 quarterbacks on the roster.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how that experiment's going to work out. But overall with the Bucs, the moves that they've made this season have been low risk, high reward, and they're not putting themselves out a whole lot by a lot of the players that they've brought in, and they're realistic contracts, and they're people that if they do good, you can re-sign them. If not, you move on, and you can either address it in the draft or you can pick up another free agent to fill in that spot. And I think they've gone the opposite of what they did last year. And I like that. A lot of fans aren't happy with the fact that we haven't made that free agent splash like we have in years past. But I think that we've gotten players that made smart moves and gotten players that I think will definitely help us out.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I 100% agree with that assessment. And I just think that we learned from our mistakes from last year, and I love this regime for being able to admit that they were wrong by saying, if you don't perform, we're done. I don't care how much we paid for you. Like, if you're not going to perform for us, there's the door. Yeah. I love that, the ability to admit that they were wrong. They didn't come out and say it necessarily, but just you can tell by their actions.
They showed it. Their actions, definitely. I liked when they got rid of Mark Barron. I was kind of happy that they got rid of him because he's a liability in coverage, and he's been that way since he was a rookie. And I had tried to defend him when he was a rookie, and I'm like, oh, he's a rookie, he's learning the speed of the game. But
then from Alabama, so I was happy to get him off the team.
But there were times years on down the road where he looked confused. Atlanta used to just shred him, and it's like they would see him and they would call an audible or something like that and go right at him, and he was a guy getting beat in coverage. And I don't know how many times I saw him where he got beat in coverage. And he's a good tackler, he's a hard hitter, but the NFL is trying to get away from all that with the issues with concussions, so they've limited his play. Another one, getting rid of Deshaun Golston. same thing. Even though Deshaun Golston had like 80-something tackles last year as a safety.
And I don't think he got any 15-yard penalties.
No, he got one. He got one.
Oh, did he get one? Okay, well, that's an improvement from the year before when it was. That's all he was good for was a 15-yard penalty.
Right,
So.
or in a fine. I think his wallet's got
Well, the fine, I don't really care. That's not my money. That's not my team's money. That's your money. But the 15-yard penalty has cost my team some. We're the pros at 2nd and 30.
Exactly.
We are the pros at that.
So basically, they're not playing around. They're basically playing for their jobs, and they're getting a team that I think that they can work with. I like Jason Licht when he was here in Arizona. I got a chance to listen to a lot of sports radio, and I got to hear him a few times. And he was part of the vetting process to bring in Tyrann Mathieu to the Cardinals. So he's familiar with.
That's actually worked out pretty well for them.
That's worked out awesome. Absolutely. Just this guy's play. I know he was injured, but they expect big things out of this guy. And he was playing at a high level before he was injured. So I think that, having him as a general manager is definitely a plus. And I think, time will tell if I'm right or wrong here, but I think as we stand right now, what he's able to do and the fact that he's not afraid to get out on camera and talk about the direction of the team to the fans or to whoever. And I think that's important. That goes a long way towards letting the fans know that we are trying to build a team, and not so much like a Mark Dominic who would hide and you never got a straight answer from him, and you never knew what the team was doing until there was a move made or an announcement on ESPN or something. So I really do believe that this regime right here they're showing balance. They've learned from their mistakes and they're able to make adjustments. So I'm really, really excited about that.
I definitely like Jason Licht. And I see what you're saying about like getting the direct answer. I honestly don't really care about that so much personally, but it's just the way that I'm sorry, we're gonna go back to the offensive line and the building and the depth like we were talking about, but it kind of relates to Jason Licht. If you look at the draft that we had last year, so we have Mike Evans, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, Charles Sims, Kadeem Edwards, Kevin Pamphile, right? Stop me, I can't think of anybody else right now. But you look at that. So you got wide receiver, running back, 2 offensive linemen, and a tight end. What were we just saying that we have depth at? We have depth at running back. We have depth at tight end. Now we just drafted Donovan Smith and Ali Marpet to be behind, Garrett Gilkey, DeMar Dotson, but we have depth at this positions. And you're not going to see, I'm interested to get, Kevin Pamphile in there a little bit more often because they didn't play him or Kadeem Edwards very much last year, even though our line was terrible. But just getting them in there, getting them some playing time. Well, these ones that we drafted this year are going to be a little, sit in the back burner a little bit and kind of develop there, get used to the speed of things. But that's all depth.
Right.
All those positions are, positions that we have struggled at. There was that time we had, Bobby Rainey, Doug Martin, Mike James, and all 3 of them went out in like a matter of 2 weeks, So it's just adding depth to positions that we're already strong in, so not necessarily strong in, but, just depth in those key positions. I think wide receiver is an interesting little conundrum because you have, Vincent Jackson, Mike Evans. I heard that Mike Evans is playing in the X now. He's no longer in the Y, or they had him in the Z. They had him at the Z last year. But they have him on the X now on the island all by himself. So I think that's going to be an interesting change.
Yeah.
But you have Vincent Jackson, Mike Evans, then you got Lewis Murphy. Who else do we still have Russell Shepard is still there somehow. Tavares King is there now. Who else do we have?
Kenny Bell is somebody that you haven't really talked. But I really think that Kenny Bell as a physical receiver, if what he's done in college translates to the NFL, he's a football player.
That's the one from LSU, right?
He's the one from Nebraska.
Oh,
Kenny,
Nebraska. Who was the one that we got from LSU? That was
Quan,
Iosaka? Quan Alexander. That's the linebacker. Yeah, he's the linebacker that we drive. Okay, sorry. But
So
yeah, that's where I was going with the Jason Light thing, though. Is Jason Light is building a team, like you said, he's not doing it backwards. He's doing it the right way. And that's why, going back to Jason Light, I agree with you. I think that he was definitely an improvement for us and a personnel guy. So I like that. You know, he can see these players, and, you know, he was wrong on the free agents last year, and they both said that, you know. So if we can get some stuff, you know, maybe Henry Melton, he's not a huge name out of Dallas, but maybe that's going to be kind of one of those sleeper things that people didn't really see, and he plays really well at the middle linebacker. So
once again, you've got low risk, high reward.
Right.
And that's the way I look at it. And I think that he will produce. I know that a lot of your true Dallas fans that know football weren't happy to see him go. But, you know, with their salary cap situation, I'm glad that we were able to get him over here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And, you know, to kind of go along with what you're saying, I think in the drafts to come, we will be drafting the best talent on the board. That's where you know that you've got a solid team, when you can go in and you're not drafting for need anymore. You're drafting the best player on the board, which will that will come in and help your team get better.
I agree. I think I said, you know, the only other person other than Jameis Winston I would not be pissed off about if we drafted was going to be Leonard Williams, which I cannot believe that the Redskins took Sheriff over. I know they needed the lineman, but you left Leonard Williams on the board to go to a defense in New York who just re-added Darrelle Revis and Cromartie. Like, you had Leonard Williams to that to get the pressure for you. Like,
there you go.
That, you know, like, I'm sorry, I'm sitting here looking at the Redskins like, you guys are idiots, man.
But you know, and that's what makes it fun to be a Bucs fan. I would not want to be a Redskins fan. Daniel Snyder has done nothing positive for that team.
For that team whatsoever. I agree. I agree. That's why, going back to what we said earlier, I look at our team, maybe the worst team, quote, in the league, but our situation is really not that bad. And Bucs fans need to. I'm tempering my expectations. I don't want to think like, you know, we're going to the Super Bowl or we're going to the playoffs this year, but I'm tempering my expectations, but I'm also being realistic to think that we're not in as bad of a position as it seems.
I'm not tempering anything. And the reason I say that is the best team in the league had 7 wins and a tie last year. So, you know, in our division. And to me, yeah, they've made improvements, but I think that the Buccaneers have made improvements as well. And, you know, I don't think I'm far off saying that we can compete with any team that's in our division. And I think that we could win our division.
Yeah,
even Carolina.
Yeah, Carolina is going to be the tough one, I would say. I haven't kept up with too much of what everybody else has been doing this offseason, but I think you're right. I think we can compete in our division. Sorry, my computer is dying, so I'm like moving to the charger. But I think I just don't want to get my hopes up again. I do it every year, and I just don't want to do that again. So, well, I'm on a wait and see kind of tip. I'm optimistic, but I'm just not going to be over the top.
I've gone full blown homer here, where I'm all about this team, and I do believe that this team will win the division. And I know that that's hard for people to believe, but I don't see, where we're that far off. If we are able to get that pressure on the quarterback with our defensive ends that we have, I don't know, something could change. The Saints, you look at Drew Brees and they got rid of Jimmy Graham. I look at Atlanta, and they've got a new coaching staff. There's, and have they reloaded like, some other teams? The only team that's consistent is Carolina, where they have the same head coach, same coaches, and they have pretty much the same team, and they may have, added some players on defense, and that's the only team that's been consistent. But I honestly believe, the times the Bucks have played them, we play them close, and I think that we're always in the
They used
game.
their second string quarterback against us.
Yeah, that was kind of embarrassing. But,
twice.
yeah, that's kind of embarrassing. But seriously, I do believe that when we face them, I think that we will be in that game, and we still will have a chance to win. So everybody that we're going to face, we will, realistically, there's a chance that we could win that game. So it's not far from reality to say that. And I know a lot of people I've even heard on the radio that the Bucks rank last with running backs in the NFL, on paper before the season starts. The Buccaneers are last because of their running backs. So was a lot to prove. And once again, the only people that are really have the expectations high are Bucks fans, and everybody else in the NFL, they're not expecting the Bucks to do anything. Maybe 6 wins
Right.
at the most. I've heard 2 wins. I've heard 3. So the Bucks aren't expected to do a whole lot, but I think that we're going to be a problem for a lot of teams.
Yep. The Warriors just won the championship.
Oh, wow. Is LeBron James the MVP?
I don't know yet. He just walked into the locker room and was all pissed off. I just saw it right now.
Oh, wow.
They haven't. I don't think they've announced the MVP. It just ended. So.
Was it close? Was that last game close?
No, Golden State beat them. I just deleted the notification. It was 104 to 92 or something like that. It was a good 10-point at least.
Yeah. We had 103-97.
Oh, okay.
So, that's I think if Kevin Love was there, Kyrie Irving, it's a totally different game. You never know.
Yeah, it's a totally different game, but Oh
well, that's LeBron James, and all the LeBron James haters are going to come out of the woodwork now. Whatever. I think he's a good player. He's a.
I can't stand him, but I will give him his talent. He is fantastic at what he does.
Yeah, and he won more games than anybody expected Cleveland to win without Kyrie in there. So that's off to him. Good effort.
Tip off to the a team that they I saw something a second ago. It said 3 years ago the Warriors hadn't even made the playoffs in 5, 6, 7 years. So
right.
You never know, man. That could be us soon.
Yeah. Look at the Lightning. We could be feeding off the Lightning here.
Yeah.
Look at the Rays. The Rays are killing it right now. So I think it's our time.
It's up to the Bucks to step it up, man. You can't be left behind.
That's what I'm saying. So, are you seriously thinking about how many games are you trying to catch this year?
I have a feeling I'm not going to make it out to a home game this year. I was looking at Houston and New Orleans, but they're a week apart, and I was literally trying to do both of them. It's just going to be a financial thing there, and definitely the Redskins game. So,
yeah,
2. I'd like to do 2 if I can. It's been hard now since I've been more of a student than anything, but
right, yeah,
but definitely I'm going to DC for sure. That one's happening.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Once again, the Ring of Honor, Doug Williams, and I'm so excited to see him finally get get what he deserved.
Yeah, that's going to be a good day for
Yeah, and it's against the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, exactly.
Any Doug Williams fan is going to appreciate that because he did so much for our franchise way back then.
Yeah,
of course, I wasn't a fan back then, but
yeah,
I've brushed up on the history.
Yeah, there you go. even Mike Allstott. I mean, I'm so honored, to have met him the many times that I've met him, and he's a class act. And when you think of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, players like a Mike Allstott, a John Lynch, Warren Sapp, or Derek Brooks, these are players, Rondé Barber, who is going to go to the Hall of Fame.
I'm going to Canton when Rondé goes in. Like
Yeah.
I am doing that. I don't care. I'm doing it.
I wanted to go to the Derek Brooks, and I hate I missed it because of my work situation. But if he's the next player, which I do believe he's the next player that will possibly go to
You
the
don't
Hall of
think you don't think John Lynch will get in?
I don't know. I
What about
was
Dungy?
Dungy. What Dungy did for Tampa speaks volumes to his character, and for him to go to another team, and even if Peyton Manning's the quarterback, for him to go to another team and do what he did, it's a testament to him and what a great coach he is. So, yeah, it's possible, but I just think that there are some other players out there that that people are going to look at that should be coming up here pretty soon. But, Rondé Barber is the next one that I'm almost positive will go first ballot. I don't think there's anybody that you could really put up against him at that
It's just
time.
going to depend on who the class is going in that same time. Is it? It's in 2 years, huh? It's only been 2.
Yes. I think it's two.
Yes, I think it's just going to depend on who else is there. Isn't Favre coming up that year too?
Yeah, but I think they could go in together.
That
And,
would be nice. I wouldn't mind going to see Canton if it was Favre and Rondé at the same time. That I would be all right with that.
yeah. But, Rondé Barber, I can't tell you, when he caught that interception off Donovan McNabb and ran it in, in Philly, and they shut down the dump, I was probably the most excited person in Tampa. And we rolled up to the stadium, and everybody was excited.
I've seen a home video of that whole thing once. I'm so jealous. I wish I could do something like that. I want that feeling.
It's just the experience of being there and being able to, go and celebrate with a bunch of other fans at Raymond James Stadium. It was a lot of fun. I know the security made us leave, but there were so many people up there. It was just crazy.
Right. Yeah, I want that. I want that feeling so bad now. Yeah. but Rondé Barber, I mean, he's my personal all-time favorite Buck. That's just I don't think that's a secret. Everybody knows how much I love Rondé Barber, and I could not believe I'm still on cloud 9 that I met him back in December.
Yeah, he's an awesome person too, and he's a very classy guy from what I've heard. I've heard he's
nice. Super nice.
And I mean, he'll talk to, if a fan comes up, he'll talk to him. Just kind of like a Mike Allstott.
Right. I hope I have that honor to meet Mike Allstott one of these days. But
yeah, really cool. So that's pretty much all I had for this week. I think the next show we do, we'll kind of, because of the break with football, and they're breaking for OTAs, so about 6 weeks out. We'll get together and we'll figure out when we're going to do this. I'm trying to do this a little bit more regular so that kind of get an idea of what we're going to do when the regular season comes around.
Right.
So, but this was fun. I really enjoyed talking with you. As usual, I always say you're that woman with the high football IQ. You're the
very sweet of you.
Yeah. You're that Jameis Winston on this team. You got the goods from the neck up. So.
Thanks. It's not terrible from the neck down either.
Yeah, I know. I never said that. I'm just saying.
I'm just kidding.
We're on this podcast. I'm talking from the neck up here. You're not coming with any nonsense. So, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy, interacting with you here, and, we talk football, and, it's fun. I understand you're tempering your expectations, and I'm the homer. So, I'm
a homer. Trust me. I want you to be right more than anything. I just can't.
The thing is, if I'm wrong, there's always next season. That's the NFL. That's what makes football
I'm a
fun.
Bucs fan, okay? Like, it doesn't matter. We can go 0-26 like we started off, and I'm still gonna be here. So. Yeah.
I mean, I've got tattoos. I got, I'm there. I'm all about this team,
Yep.
Win or lose.
My life. Like, I know people don't like the "it's a Bucs life" thing, but I live that Bucs life. Like, that's just.
And it's funny being here in Phoenix. and I walk around with a Jameis Winston shirt or a Levante David, or I've got my or my Jameis Winston hat. I'm all about it. And people stop and they're like, "Wow, you really are a Bucks fan." And I have a lot of throwback stuff that I wear, and it's cool because it's not like you see a bunch of Seahawks fans here in Arizona. There are a ton of Seahawks fans. They
There's
used to.
Seahawks fans here in Albuquerque. All of a sudden, I think I see more like stickers on cars that are Seahawks. I'm like, where the hell did y'all come from? I cannot wait.
They used to be 49er fans.
Oh, right. I cannot wait. I have this discussion all the time. I cannot wait until the Buccaneers start being relevant again. Because and all of a sudden all these people are Bucks fans. I'm like, no, because I'm here repping every single day hard. My teacher, I'm in a class and he has to like kind of make up, different examples of things, and he keeps making examples out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do this, and he said yesterday to me, he was like, "I'm sorry." He's like, "I just every time I look at you, that's what I think of," and I'm like, "It's okay. That's part of my identity. Like that's."
Exactly.
It's completely part of who I am. So when you look at me and see Buccaneers, like I want you to associate that with me.
And just think about this. We start to go around next year. We'll have the West Coast. So I do believe Tampa will be playing in Arizona next year.
So we're going to hang out finally?
Oh, yeah. We're going to tailgate. We'll have a good time.
Yeah, I'll be there.
All right. Because it's going to be fun.
Of course, I might be living in Tampa by that time. So we'll see.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm excited. I hope that works out for you because I was so jealous that you were there and you got to enjoy all that, and I missed out. But I'll get there, and it's going to be fun. But I would like to go to a game with you. And what I was really hoping for is to do a podcast with you, right before a game. I thought that would be kind of cool to do something like that. So those are ideas that I have.
Yeah, that's an early morning.
Yeah, that's before you start tailgating. You get that all out of the way,
Well, that's an early morning. Our game started at 11, so.
Yeah. Well, there may be an afternoon game we can,
Yeah, we'll make one work. We can do a pre-show to like the Thursday night game or something.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show. Did you have anything else? And please tell everybody how they can get a hold of you. I think you're a wealth of information. I really enjoy your tweets. I know you're not that much on Facebook anymore, but it's more about the Twitter. And I'm starting to get back more into it. Now that the draft is over and all the trolls are gone back into under their caves or wherever.
Under their rock.
Yeah. And now, we know who our quarterback is, and you either like him or you go find another team, and that's kind of my view on it. So now, I can kind of get back on, but, during the whole draft process, all the rumors that you heard and all the trolls and just all the negative that you heard and poor journalism.
You just have to know who to follow, though. You have
right. Yeah, I've got people that follow me, that I probably normally wouldn't follow. And there have been I've blocked so many people. You have no idea. I think I'm down to like 500 followers, something like that. Because I blocked a whole lot of people because of this. It was crazy. And I think this draft educated me on who to follow as far as journalists go. Who to follow, because
there's local. Always follow local.
Right. And then there are some local that I kind of shy away from too. So
I agree. There's a couple that I feel that way about as well.
Yeah. And I think me and you have kind of alluded to that on other, other times. So I think I'm on the same page with you.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, if anybody wants to follow me, it's at Bucks_Princess on Twitter.
All right. Yeah. And I am, you can follow me at Super Heavyweight. I'm all about it. I'm excited.
By the way.
I'm so excited.
You get one of those. You have to send that shit.
Yeah, exactly. I got a care package from a friend of mine in Tampa. Gave me a care package, so I got a whole bunch of just Bucks paraphernalia that it's awesome. To have friends that are fans. Just like you were feeling love when you were in Tampa, and we had a couple of Bucks fans that came down for the Pro Bowl, and they dressed up in Bucks gear, and we all hung out. And it's just exciting, just knowing that there are other fans out there that feel the same way about your team as you do. And I've heard people make jokes, did you lose a bet and stuff like that, but it's fun being that's your team, that's who you love, that's who you don't switch allegiances like this whole 12th man thing just blows my mind. And they're all
It happens every year with every team that's good, though. We'll see it again one of these days with the Bucks. One of these days, everyone is going to be a Bucks fan. Just watch.
There you go. All right. So I'll let everybody know the next time we get ready to do a show. And, I guess, I'll let you get back to school. And, I know you're struggling to get all the way through this, and you're looking forward to summer break and all the good things that are planned that are lying ahead for you. So thanks a lot. I do want to give a shout out to my man who do everything, who did the music for the show tonight. And I really do appreciate you letting me use that. And, thanks a lot. I want to say that. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening, checking us out, and look for us to do another show soon.
All right. Good night, guys.